Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everyone. We're thrilled you're here. And we are coming at you with just a ton of energy today because we're tackling something that, well, it fundamentally shapes how you communicate your reality to the world.
It really does. It's one of those things that's so foundational, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're listening to this, you already know the basics of English, right? You know how to order a coffee, you know how to run a meeting, you're out there, living your life.
Right. You're getting by just fine.
But today, we're going after those tiny, frustrating moments where your brain just freezes mid-sentence. You know that feeling. You're about to tell a story, and suddenly you're second-guessing the entire timeline.
Oh, it is incredibly common. We're talking about those specific verb phrases that try to capture the flow of time. It's not just past, present, and future. It's the messy middle ground.
Precisely. The messy middle. We were talking about has been, have been, and had been.
It's a big three.
The big three, yeah. These three little phrases are just notorious for tripping up even highly advanced speakers. So our mission today is to completely demystify them.
Which is so needed, honestly.
Right. Like, we don't want you mentally translating from your native language anymore. We want you using these phrases with total unthinking automaticity in your everyday conversations.
And to do that, we've synthesized some really brilliant insights from 3 different sources for you today.
Yeah, let's hear them.
So we have a comprehensive grammar breakdown from the YouTube channel English with Lucy, a very practical spoken English guide from the Invarta app, and a detailed structural analysis from thesaurus.com.
And what's great about combining these specific sources is that, we aren't just looking at textbook rules here.
No, not at all. We are looking at the psychology of why we make mistakes with these words, how native speakers bend the rules in casual speech, and how you can actually train your brain to stop hesitating.
So let's unpack the core mechanics first, I think. Because before we can sprint, we need to look at what these phrases are actually made of.
Right. The foundation.
Yeah. The common denominator here is the word been.
Yeah.
And been, at its core, is just the past participle of the verb to be. It's an abstract state of existence. But on its own, it's completely untethered. It's just floating in space.
That is a crucial point to understand. Been cannot function independently in a sentence to show time. It needs an auxiliary verb, a helper.
A helper, right?
Yeah, so when you attach has, have, or had to the front of it, you're grabbing that abstract concept of existence and nailing it down to a very specific measurable slice of the timeline.
Oh, I like that. Nailing it down.
You're telling your listener exactly when the state of being started and whether or not it's still happening right now.
And the rules for which helper word you choose, well, they rely entirely on who is doing the action, right? The subject, verb, agreement.
Yeah.
So has been applies to singular subjects in the third person. He, she, it, the company, the dog. And then have been covers plural subjects like they or we, plus the first and second person. So I have been, you have been.
Which leaves us with the third option, which is had been. And that one operates on a completely different logic.
It really does. And actually, here's an analogy that I think clarifies the whole system perfectly.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay, think of the present tense helpers, so have and have, as custom-fitted shoes. You absolutely cannot just grab any pair off the shelf.
Right.
You need the exact right size depending on who is walking in them. If the subject is she, you must put on the has shoe.
Yeah.
If the subject is we, you need the have shoe. Try to mix them up and you're going to trip.
Yeah, the listener is immediately going to notice the mismatch. It grates on the ear.
Right. But then you have had been. Had isn't a custom shoe. Had is a one-size-fits-all hat.
A hat. I love that.
Yeah. It doesn't care who the subject is. I had been, she had been, the massive corporation had been. As long as the entire situation is firmly rooted in the past, that hat is going to fit perfectly.
That visual makes the mechanics so much more approachable. But, we also have to acknowledge that spoken English is full of optical illusions, or, well, audio illusions, really.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Thesaurus.com highlights this structural trap that catches people constantly, and it has to do with prepositional phrases.
Oh, the proximity trap.
Yes.
Yeah, I fall for this one myself when I'm speaking too fast.
A lot of native speakers do. It's super common. Consider the sentence. The box of videotapes has been sitting there.
Okay.
When you're speaking in real time, your brain is processing information linearly, right? The word immediately preceding the verb phrase is tapes.
And tapes is plural.
Exactly. Tapes is plural. So the brain's instinct is to grab the plural custom shoe. People naturally want to say, the box of videotapes have been sitting there.
Because the cognitive load of just formulating the thought makes us reach for the nearest noun. We hear tapes, so we want have.
But videotapes is just a prepositional phrase describing the contents. The core subject, the actual thing performing the action of sitting there, is the singular box.
But the box. So it must be has been. The box has been sitting there?
Yes. Training your ear to listen past the clutter and find the core noun is essential for fluency.
That dynamic of your brain actively working against you, it brings up a massive hurdle that Engarta calls the mental translation trap.
Oh, this is a big one.
Yeah, this is probably the single biggest barrier to using have been and has been naturally.
It is entirely rooted in how different languages conceptualize time. Let's look at an everyday workplace situation.
Okay, let's do it.
So a colleague asks about your background, and you want to describe an unfinished state, right? A job you started 2 years ago that you're still doing today. A very common mistake is to translate directly from a native language and say, I am working here since 2 years.
And if you look at the logic of Romance languages, for example, that structure makes total sense.
It completely makes sense.
Right. The present tense, in many languages, is robust enough to cover an action that started in the past and continues into the present. The ongoing nature is just implied.
Yeah, but to an English speaker, I am working strictly means right this very second. The camera is zoomed all the way in on the current millisecond.
Zoomed all the way in. Which is why I am working here since 2 years causes this momentary glitch in the conversation. English requires a grammatical bridge that physically spans the gap between the past and the present.
That bridge is the present perfect continuous tense. You have to say, I have been working here for 2 years.
Notice how the preposition changed there, too.
Yes, that's important.
This is a crucial secondary rule from both Engvarta and Lucy's analysis. For and since are sort of like the twin pillars supporting these verb phrases, but they measure time differently.
They serve distinct functions. You use for when you're measuring the total duration. It's the length of the measuring tape. For 3 years, for 10 minutes, for an entire decade.
Right, and then you use since when you're pointing to a specific calendar date or a timestamp on the starting line, right?
Since 2021.
Since last Tuesday, since I graduated.
Exactly. So applying this bridge concept to real life, let's look at a scenario English with Lucy brings up. We're talking about travel experiences. And this illustrates the subtle, often perilous difference between been and gone.
Oh, this is such a good example.
Let's say we have a mutual friend named Alicia. What is the actual real-world difference if I tell you Alicia has been to Mumbai versus Alicia has gone to Mumbai?
Well, the grammatical difference is just one word, obviously, but the communicative difference is massive. If you say Alicia has been to Mumbai, you're using that bridge to connect a completed past experience to her present identity. She traveled there, she experienced it, and she returned.
Right. It is a fact about her life that she carries with her.
She bought the souvenirs, and now she's back home.
Exactly. But if you say Alicia has gone to Mumbai, the bridge works differently. It means she packed her bags, she left, and the result of that action is that she is still physically located in Mumbai right now.
So the stakes here in a casual conversation are actually pretty high. Like if we're organizing a dinner party for this weekend, and I ask if we should invite Alicia, and you say she has gone to Mumbai, I immediately cross her off the list.
Because you know she is out of the country.
Right. But if you answer my question about the dinner party by saying she has been to Mumbai, I am going to stare at you wondering why you're bringing up her past vacations instead of telling me if she's free for dinner.
It creates total conversational confusion.
It really does.
The phrasing completely alters the reality you're describing.
Okay, so has been and have been act as a bridge from the past to the present moment. But what if we're telling a story that is entirely locked in the past?
Where the bridge doesn't touch the present at all.
Exactly. That brings us back to our one-size-fits-all hat, right? Had been.
The past perfect continuous. Which, it sounds incredibly intimidating when you use the formal grammatical term.
It sounds like something you need a master's degree in linguistics to use, honestly.
It really does. But the concept is actually just a sequencing tool. You use had been to establish the timeline when you have two distinct events that both happened in the past. It's what we call the two past events rule.
Okay, two past events.
Yeah. You cannot just walk into a room and announce, I'd been waiting. The phrase cannot exist in a vacuum. It requires an anchor point.
Meaning it needs a second event to justify its existence.
Exactly. It shows your listener which past event was happening before the second past event interrupted or finished it. So, by the time the train arrived, I had been waiting for 2 hours. The arrival of the train is your anchor. The waiting is the ongoing action that preceded it.
Let me push back on this a little, though.
Yeah.
Because as a native speaker, I hear this and think, well, is this strictly necessary for casual, everyday speech? Couldn't I just rely on the simple past?
How do you mean?
Like, couldn't I just say, I waited 2 hours and the train arrived? It's shorter, and you still understand the sequence of events.
You certainly can use the simple past and you will be understood, but, you are sacrificing depth. Using had been gives your listener a cinematic view of the timeline.
Cinematic view. I like that.
Yeah, the simple past is like a wide shot of a scene. It's flat. Had been places the camera right over the character's shoulder, immersing the listener in the ongoing duration of the event.
That makes a lot of sense. It builds tension.
Exactly. Consider the example Lucy uses in her masterclass. She says, he had been a nurse for 11 months when he quit his job. If you just say he was a nurse and he quit, it's just a bulleted list of facts.
Right. It's a bit dry.
Very. But he had been a nurse when he quit establishes this continuous, grueling reality, the daily grind of the hospital that builds and builds until it's suddenly interrupted by the plot twist of him quitting.
It provides the context for why the second event matters.
Yes. It's the ultimate storyteller's tool. It sets the stage so the climax of the story actually has an impact.
And it ensures there is absolutely zero ambiguity about the order in which things occurred.
Precisely.
All right, so we understand the structural engineering now, but knowing the rules on paper is entirely different from making these words sound natural when they leave your mouth.
Oh, completely.
So let's dig into the nuances of pronunciation, because native speakers do not pronounce these words the way they're spelled in the dictionary.
No, we don't. And the physical act of saying these words is where a lot of learners sound overly formal. If you look at the spelling of Ben, B-E-E-N, the logical assumption is to pronounce it with a long E sound, like I have been.
And technically, in certain dialects, or if you're heavily emphasizing the word, that isn't wrong.
It isn't wrong, but in fast, informal, everyday American or British English, we squash it. We reduce the vowel to a short I sound, been. So instead of I have been waiting, it becomes I have been waiting.
It just glides through the vocal cords with much less effort.
Right. English is a stress time language, which basically means we rush through the structural grammar words to land heavily on the important vocabulary words.
And we squash the pronunciation even further with contractions, which are like my absolute favorite quirk of spoken English. We take I have been and mash it into I've been.
Yeah.
She has been becomes she's been. But the true test of fluency is the contraction for it had been.
Oh, the notorious it been.
It is such a bizarre sound to make. To say it had been as a contraction, your mouth is forced to add an entirely new, lazy syllable right in the middle, a schwa sound. It
Had been. Yeah.
If you say it fast, like it had been a long day, it almost sounds like you're hiccuping mid-sentence.
It really does sound like a hiccup, but mastering that specific rhythm, that casual laziness in the pronunciation, is what bridges the gap between sounding like you learned English from a textbook and sounding like you live in it.
Definitely. Speaking of making things sound natural, where do we place adverbs? Words like already or never. Because I frequently hear learners stick them at the very end or the very beginning of the sentence, which just sounds disjointed.
Thesaurus.com provides the golden rule for adverb placement with these verb phrases. Right in the middle.
In the middle, okay.
Yeah, think of the auxiliary verb, so has, have, or had, and the word been, as 2 slices of bread. Your adverb is the sandwich filling. You don't say, already she has been to California. You say, she has already been to California.
I've never been to Paris. They had finally been given the green light. It slots right into the middle every single time.
Exactly. It maintains the rhythm of the sentence perfectly.
Now, let's apply these phrases to a completely different context that everyone interacts with constantly, which is the passive voice.
Oh,
Lucy brings up this highly relatable scenario involving online shopping. She orders treats for her dog, Diego, and she gets an automated email that reads, "Your order has been received." My question is, why do corporations speak like this? Why not just say, "Our warehouse team has received your order"?
because the passive voice allows you to intentionally manipulate the focus of the sentence. Well, in the active voice, our team received your order. The subject is the team. But as a consumer, you do not care about the warehouse team. You care about Diego's treats.
Right, I want the treats.
So the passive voice, your order has been received, takes the object, the treats, and elevates it to the most important position in the sentence. It centers the consumer's needs while, subtly deflecting responsibility away from any specific human worker.
Wow, it's brilliant corporate deflection. The package has been delayed. It sounds like an act of nature rather than a logistics manager making a mistake.
Exactly. It's very strategic.
Before we jump into how to actually practice all this, there are two quick quirks from our sources I want to highlight. First, the hyphenated noun has been.
Ah, yes. If someone calls you a has-been, they are not offering a grammar critique.
No, they are delivering a remarkably harsh insult. It refers to a person who used to be famous or talented or relevant, but isn't anymore. They're literally accusing you of existing entirely in the past tense.
It's grammatically clever and deeply mean.
So mean. And the language provides tools for every situation. What was the second quirk?
Using these phrases after modal verbs, words like might, must, or should.
Oh, right. Let's say we're looking for our friend Maria. We might say, Maria might have been in the kitchen. Notice how we didn't say might has been, even though Maria is a singular subject.
The presence of that modal word might overrides the custom shoe rule and forces the verb back to its base form, have.
That is an excellent detail to point out. Modal verbs act like a reset button for the grammar that follows them.
They absolutely do.
Okay, we have covered the structural engineering, the pronunciation hacks, the storytelling applications, and the corporate passive voice. We know the theory, but, knowing the theory doesn't stop you from freezing up in a real conversation. We need to build muscle memory.
Which is where Ingvarda's methodology really shines. You can't just memorize this. You have to train your mouth to produce the sounds automatically.
Right. So rather than giving you a multiple-choice pop quiz like a high school exam, let's look at how to organically pressure test this. Before we do the full drill, let's do a quick mini quiz for the listeners just to warm up.
Okay, love it.
Using Lucy's examples, try to guess the answer in your head before we say it. Ready? Prompt 1. My bike, blank, blank, stolen. How am I going to get home?
And the answer is has been. My bike has been stolen. Singular passive.
Perfect. Prompt 2. Andy blank, blank, a teacher for 50 years when he retired.
That one is had been. Andy had been a teacher. 2 past events.
Nice. Okay, so now that we're warmed up, Ingvarda suggests a 5-day drill designed specifically to build that unthinking automaticity. How does the regimen work?
It breaks the overwhelming task into highly focused micro-habits. On day 1, your only goal is to speak 10 sentences out loud using has been. Don't write them down. Speak them. Walk around your house and describe things. The mail has been delivered. The dog has been fed.
Bruh.
Focus entirely on those singular subjects.
You're greasing the groove.
Exactly. Day 2, you shift the focus. Speak 10 sentences out loud using have been. Talk about yourself or groups of people. I have been working. They have been loud.
And day 3 is where we practice being a storyteller.
Yes. On day 3, you tell a short 2-minute story out loud using had been. The focus here is strictly on sequencing, setting up that anchor point in the past and describing the cinematic reality that led up to it.
And what happens on days 4 and 5? Because that's where the real synthesis happens.
Days 4 and 5 are the pressure tests. You set a timer for 3 minutes on your phone, hit record, and you talk about any random topic nonstop. Your career, a movie you just watched, a trip you took.
Okay.
The rule is you cannot stop speaking. Afterward, you play the audio back and become your own auditor. You listen specifically for where you dropped the helper verb or where you used the wrong custom shoe. By forcing yourself to speak continuously, you bypass the analytical part of your brain and expose your actual conversational habits.
You find out what your brain defaults to when it's under pressure.
Yeah.
And then you can correct it. I love how practical that is. It turns grammar from a set of invisible rules into a physical workout for your vocal cords.
Because ultimately, fluency is a physical reflex, not just intellectual knowledge.
Which brings us to the end of our deep dive. We've explored how these 3 phrases, has been, have been, and had been, act as the architectural blueprints for how we describe our reality. They're the bridges spanning the past and the present, the cinematic camera angles for our stories, and the subtle tools we use to navigate social and professional situations.
The precision of English timekeeping really is remarkable when you look at it from a distance.
It is. The sources we explored today make it clear that grammar isn't arbitrary. It was designed to solve a very specific human problem. How do we communicate that our past is never truly over?
Yeah, that's profound, actually.
Every time you use the present perfect continuous, every time you say, I have been, You're pushing back against the idea that time is just a ticking clock moving forward. You're stating, grammatically, that your history is currently bleeding into and actively shaping your present reality. English forces us to acknowledge that we are the sum of our ongoing experiences.
That's so true.
So as you go about your day, we want to leave you with this thought to consider. If the language we speak dictates the nuances of how we perceive time, how much of your current reality is simply a reflection of the tense you choose to describe it with? Pay attention to the bridges you build today.
A fascinating concept to take with you.
Until next time, keep diving deep.